know what would make that better? A cup of white cane coffee.
Wow, that really is great coffee.
White cane coffee, because every cup makes a difference.
It's not just about music lessons. It's about hard work, perseverance, dedication, self-expression, making memories. Let's make memories together.
Hello, everyone, from the White Cane Coffee Cafe in the plaza across from Tops. As you can see, it is open through all this construction. This is White Cane Coffee Presents Coffee and a Conversation. Our special guest this week, former Warren County Sheriff and presumptively soon to be Warren County Commissioner Ken Klakamp. Ken, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thanks for having me.
I do want to remind everyone, stop on into the White Cane Cafe, get yourself a fresh cup of Dragon's Roast or your favorite brew, and as the temperature starts to heat up, as it already has this morning, they've also got iced mocha and frozen lemonade, some iced tea as well. And if you don't want to mess with the construction downtown, that's no problem. White Cane is also available on DoorDash. Just place your order, get your favorites delivered right to your door. You can also order your favorite roast or brew at home online on whitecanecoffee.com. And Ken, we're through the primary season now, and it certainly looks as though come November, you will be one of our new Warren County commissioners, and begs the question, we're in public life for a while as a sheriff and took a little break. Why now do you want to be a commissioner?
I love Warren County. I've been raised here. I've been here my entire life, other than 3 years that I served in the military. And this is home. My kids grew up here. My grandchildren are growing up here. And to be very honest, the people of Warren County have always been good to me. I had about a 43 and a half year career with the sheriff's office, and I want to give back. And I'm concerned about Warren County and the people.
So, I mean, as you look around the county as it stands, today it's June 3rd. What do you think is the biggest issue that we're facing as a county? And I mean, even from a 10,000 foot view, so to speak, if you look at the county and say, all right, what has to be addressed first?
Well, one of my concerns is obviously the budget, the county budget, where we went from a high population of 47,000 to about 38,000. And with that, we lose our tax base. We've had businesses, PDM, Struthers years ago. We're seeing more and more business leaving, going other locations down south. The people are leaving, and that is a real concern. We need to live within our budget.
So, a lot of people have kind of mentioned that, hey, we're losing businesses. We've got to find a way to attract new businesses to take their place. So obviously we can, rebuild the population. If you were to go out and kind of put on your salesperson hat and market the county, what do you think the biggest selling point would be to bring a new business in here into Warren County?
Well, first off is the beautiful area that we live in. The people, I do have some concerns, but that would be one of the. And to be honest with you, I have heard numerous. And I sat through a meeting several years ago about the Route 62 corridor, and people saying, "Well, your biggest problem in Warren County is you're too far away from an interstate." Well, we're 15 minutes to Interstate 86. Is it an inconvenience? Yes. But it's there. And one of the best things that could be done, in my opinion, is to do not a roundabout, but have a connection from 62 to go right to Interstate 86 and bypass Falkner. I think that would be a help. But jobs, we need jobs here, and we need to protect the jobs that are here. I hear concerns of, about oil and gas. I hear different concerns. One of the two areas that I'm really big on, one is the veterans. I'm a veteran, Vietnam era veteran, and senior citizens. 25% of our population in Warren County are senior citizens, and those senior citizens live on fixed incomes. So we've got to strike that balance and live within our budget. Those are a couple things.
So on the flip side of that, and we've looked at some of the data and some of the census things coming out, and obviously the average age of the county has increased over the last 10, 20 years. But part of what I've heard others say that we need to do is to find a way to maybe slow or reverse that trend, and not to say we need to push senior citizens out or anything of that nature, but we've got to find a way to attract younger families with younger children.
I agree.
And so that kind of begs the question, how do we do that as a county and potentially as a commissioner? How does a commissioner go about trying to attract those families?
We need every day, as a county commissioner, we need to sell ourselves. We need to develop a program that we're out there, we're selling Warren County. I think that is vitally a big interest that we need to prop up and go with.
And so how, in your vision, how would the commissioners work with agencies like the Visitors Bureau and the Chamber of Business and Industry to do that marketing and selling the county?
That is a really good question. We all need to work together. I'm old enough that I remember the industrial era that was here. We had a lot of good paying jobs. PDM manufactured the St. Louis Arch. Blair was here for a number of years, and it's time now. And what we have left right now is the tourism, and we need to milk that. We need to come up with that program, and like I said before, sell ourselves.
And one of the things that going along with the tourism, the chamber just went out and worked with the Visitors Bureau to get Wi-Fi access at Kinzu Point, the information center there, right before the bridge. So if you are heading out to Jake's Rocks or Kinzu Dam, swing by the Kinzu Point Information Center, get yourself some Wi-Fi, and maybe you can post those Facebook, Instagram, social media photos. But how big a deal is that to increase that broadband and Wi-Fi access to some of those areas of the county?
I think that is huge. Being in law enforcement for all these years, in the sheriff's office, we did a lot of work with the Forest Service and Corps of Engineers over the year, and that was always a bad spot. Or if you needed your cell phone, you had, wherever you were at, you had to go down where the old payphone was, just above the parking for the dam. That was the only place that you could catch it. Radio, and we made a lot of improvements, but you had that recreational area, and the phone coverage was terrible, the radio coverage was terrible, and you're talking about saving lives and helping people. So I think that is
and that kind of leads right into obviously one of the bigger issues facing not just our county but so many counties throughout the Commonwealth. It's the drastic reduction in the number of EMS volunteers and firefighters and police officers in general. And again, as a former law enforcement officer yourself, and as a commissioner, how do you address something like that, or what are some steps that, from a commissioner's standpoint, that could be taken to remedy that?
Well, I think that is a big problem. We just recently had the situation with Scarborough Volunteer Fire Department, and thank God that they elected to keep the doors open. But in my era, and I'm a life member of the Garland Volunteer Fire Department. I was a chief officer there for 7 years, and I'm proud of Garland. They are very active, but you have others that the days of, well, my dad was in the fire department,
Yeah.
so they're gone.
Yeah.
And I've heard talking to different people that the issue falls on the townships. They have a role and responsibility, but at some point, is it going to reach the county level?
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, there are a lot of people out there that believe that the state will come in and save the day. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't see that.
Well, and does it become a situation at some point, and we probably are very close to whatever that breaking point is, to where and we've already seen mutual aid agreements and a cooperative EMS agreements between the municipalities kind of starting to form organically to address this issue. But does there come a point where maybe the county looks at it and says, okay, we need to take the lead here and kind of take the bull by the horns and figure out a way to get all this cooperation and pool these volunteers so that we have the coverage we need?
I think that the county does have a large role to play in it. Looking back and being familiar with the fire service, and I have two areas of experience. Granted, I'm older versus the newer generation, but I think that the state has put way too many demands. Yes, I know about safety. I took my fundamentals of firefighting when I was with Garland, but now it's 166 hours for your essentials. And I get that because you have working with hoses, ladders, axes, so on and so forth. But not 1 minute of that can be done online.
Yeah.
Everything has to be in person. And I'm told that the reason they do that is because the state is concerned about liability. Because they're certifying someone and they want to use their instructors. Well, I get that, I understand that. But why don't you take the bull by the horns and the State Fire Academy have online courses where they can do part of their classroom? Granted, I understand they're going to have to come on Saturdays to do ladders and so on and so forth. But I don't think what they're understanding is these volunteer fire departments are competing. Family time, work commitments, your kids' ball games,
Right.
And
which aren't at the neighborhood ball field anymore for the most part.
No,
you got to go
right.
somewhere.
And I think there needs to be some drastic changes. One of my other concerns and complaints, when I was with Garland, I became an EMT instructor. I taught classes. And it's not the material that's being taught. And I got into an argument with a person one time. It was a debate.
Right.
And I was told that, well, this is all critical thinking. Well, maybe I don't understand critical thinking, but I was in the fire service for over 25 years and I was an EMT. What's the most important thing to teach that EMT is signs, symptoms,
Yeah.
ABCs.
Yep.
And the testing now, back in the day, it was EMTs were educated at the county level. And then the state would come in at the end of the class, and they would do practical testing. They would set up scenarios. You would work those scenarios. If it was a broken arm, you would treat the broken arm. If it was chest pains, you would do, and so on. And we had EMTs.
Yeah.
And we were all proud of that. Now, they come in and do the class, and then you have to take the National Registry test. Well, that National Registry test is good. I mean, it doesn't matter what state. And my concern is in Pennsylvania, an EMT can do X, Y, and Z,
Right.
where Utah,
Yeah.
maybe they can do more.
Yep.
And you're teaching them on the same level. Their success rate for a long time was not very good. I understand it's gotten better, but and that's 200 hours. And one of my goals before I retired was to have sheriffs, not the vehicle, but the equipment, an emergency responder, and the sheriff's vehicles become quick response services, where you're not dispatching them per se, but if you're out in the western part of the county, and say you're between Grand Valley and Kitty, and Grand Valley has a call, and we see during the day that sometimes it's an issue.
Yeah.
Have those emergency responders from the sheriff's office respond until the ambulance service gets them. And
Give them the tools to.
yeah,
Yeah.
we were in the process of being certified, having the equipment certified, and we sent some people through, and there were issues with the testing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I remember years ago I was a student at Pitt, and part of my course requirements was I had to take an EMT class, and you got through the class, and essentially if you passed the test, you left the class as an EMT basic.
Right.
But the problem is, or at least the way it was then in Pennsylvania, as an EMT basic, you're essentially unhireable because you can't be alone in the back of the ambulance
That's
with
right.
a patient,
Yep.
and you can't drive the ambulance without proper certification. So essentially, all you could do is sit in the passenger seat and provide guidance, right? And
or hand them something.
yeah, so it became this kind of, okay, great, I'm an EMT basic, but now I've got to go take this whole other course to be able to drive the ambulance. I've got to take another course to be able to be alone in the back of the ambulance if I'm not driving. And that's time. It's money. It's, the stress of, it's a class environment for a lot of people. And these are all things that, while necessary to a degree, obviously, like you said, you want to have
Absolutely.
people trained, but it also becomes a hindrance because, okay, to be able to take these classes, I've got to pay for the classes. And if I'm not working as an EMT, I'm working as something else. And are they going to give me the time to get away and get this done?
And is your business going to, because you're benefiting the business?
Yeah.
Are they going to help pay for it? Because I don't know what the cost is. I remember it used to be like $100, and I've heard it's up over $500-$600.
Yeah.
And or are you going to catch on with a sponsor, Starbreck, North
Right.
Warren, where they'll help with that? But then again, you're competing with family time, work commitments.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
All right. I think this is a good place. We'll take a quick break, get a word from White Cane Coffee, and we'll be right back with Coffee and a Conversation with Ken Klakamp right after this.
The only thing worse than being stuck at home is being stuck at home without coffee. We can't let that happen. Browse our selection and order online. From sweet to tangy, hot or iced, we have something for you. White King Coffee, because every cup makes a difference. Cheers.
They have to do something.
And welcome back to White King Coffee Presents Coffee in a Conversation. Our guest this weekend, Klakamp. And, Ken, we were talking about some of the EMS issues, facing not just the county, but the Commonwealth. And I think that's a good way to transition into, you spent a lot of years as a Warren County sheriff and law enforcement officer within the county. And from the day that you started till the day that you left, I'm sure there was a number of things that changed in that time. And what do you see as a former law enforcement officer, some of the things happening today, good, bad, better, indifferent, from when you started?
I've seen a lot of good training, educating of police officers, sheriff's deputies, state troopers. It's phenomenal. The part of the issue, and obviously, is keeping up with equipment.
Yeah.
That was an issue we had sheriff's office for a while. The commissioners, they set your budget.
Mhm.
You have to live, and a lot of times you don't like it, but you have to do. And I would ask, one of the things that I would ask the public to keep in mind, and when you look at the budget, look at the income that is being generated by the sheriff's office, by these different, and some, and I've heard complaints that, well, this county agency doesn't generate much income. Well, it's unfortunately kind of designed because they're providing a service. And I know I had a couple go-arounds with the county commissioners, and it worked out.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is the public. We're not in a rich county. We don't. Yes, we have a lot of businesses. We have a lot of great businesses, and that leads it kind of into the assessment that's coming. It's already started. My hope and my concern is that is going to be a level playing field. One of the things, whether it's with volunteer fire services, the broadband issue, project, is the messaging to the public.
Yeah.
You have got to keep the public informed. And I think we can do a better job of that.
Well, you mentioned the assessment, and I think that's a perfect example of the messaging and keeping the public informed. Is the perception seems to be that this reassessment is just going to raise everybody's taxes, and now the county is going to be all this surplus of cash coming in, and it's going to be wasted. And it's the reality is that a true assessment, if it's done properly, becomes a net zero equation, right?
Revenue.
Yeah.
One of I had a conversation with Chris Durbin, the current county commissioner, and we were talking. One of the things that she mentioned that I think is for messaging purposes is one of the groups that are very concerned, and obviously, are the farmers.
Right.
Well, with the reassessment, how much are my taxes going to go up, and how much is it going to cost me? Well, we need to have available so that they can see this is what your taxes are prior to, this is what your taxes are after the reassessment. I think that the public is owed that.
Yeah.
But messaging is going to be a big thing. And when I was a sheriff, I tried to keep the people informed. If we created a program, we made sure that it would benefit. It wasn't something that we were going to spend money just to spend money I'm not a big believer.
And then, again, I think the other thing that, obviously is kind of a hot button issue from a county-wide perspective that you touched on is, the broadband and,
Yes.
and trying to find a way to get, you know, reliable, high-speed internet to all corners of the county. Um, and obviously this is something that the current commissioners have been discussing for a long time now. Um, how do you kind of step in and you know take the ball from them and keep that initiative rolling?
That is Commissioner Durbin. That's one of her projects. I support broadband. I think it can do great things in Warren County. But what's the cost? What? And yes, I understand there are state grants coming out, there are federal grants coming out, but keep in mind that grant money is still taxpayer money,
Yeah.
no matter how you look at it. And I guess one way to look at it is, well, should we not get part of the money back to Warren County? I don't have an issue with that. My issue is in the end result. The gentleman who is living out in Spring Creek,
Yeah.
down towards Enterprise, what's it going to cost them in the end?
Yeah.
Is it going to be so astronomical that they can't afford it? And I've heard the story, one story I heard, and I won't repeat the county, but they spent, say, $7 million. And the end result is 40 subscribers. That's
Well, and that's you mentioned that, and that's essentially why the big providers, the Verizons and AT&Ts and all them, have basically said we're not going to create this infrastructure because the customer base is not there to support the investment.
and it's not cost effective.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
But again, the catch-22 is then you've got a large swath of not just our county, but the Commonwealth in general that just kind of gets left in the dark and almost literally in the modern day and age, if you don't have access to reliable high-speed internet, there's a lot of things that you don't have access to.
Yeah, that's true. And think back to the COVID era when our schools were closed down, and the district went out and they bought hotspots and got computers for these kids. I don't really want to see the county put in that situation again, because let's be honest, I'm sure there were some kids that got left behind. And my daughter is a special education teacher here in the district, and one of her concerns is if my kids are not in that classroom, that they regress.
Yeah.
And then we got to come back through and that is just to back up a little bit. You had mentioned about issues facing the county. I think, and I caught some flack during the campaign, especially during the candidate forum, was I was honest. One of the issues that we have a huge drug issue in Warren County. We've always had some type of substance problem here in Warren County. I think back to my grandfather's era, and unfortunately, I didn't get to meet him or my grandmother. They were both gone before I came along. But he worked in the logging camps. There were several logging camps throughout the county, and the men would go there during the week, work hard, come back, and they played.
Yeah.
I think that maybe might have been the start of the issue. Excuse me. I remember being the sheriff and being with the sheriff's office, and some of the blood alcohol concentrations were through the roof in Warren County. Yeah. The big thing then was DUI enforcement. Well, now it's drug enforcement, and I think that needs to be addressed. I think county commissioners need to to do their part. Because let's face it, we have an issue in our we've lost population. So yes, we've lost tax dollars, but we've also lost workers.
Yeah.
And what do we do about that?
Well, and you've lost jobs, and
Yes.
Those people don't necessarily leave every time a job is taken away, and sometimes a lot of that then leads into the drinking or drug abuse or
Yes.
whatever, and so it just the cycle kind of continues. And to go along with what you were saying about the interstate access, there's a lot of back country roads that
Oh, yes.
that can get you
Yes.
to various places, and and I've sat in some of those municipal meetings, and some of those township supervisors understand that some of those roads are being used to traffic because they're so out of the way, and there's just not the resources to patrol them consistently.
You're absolutely right. A good example was when we the sheriff's office, got K9 Dina. Well, Deputy Kibbe and a couple of the troopers, they were working Route 6 west. And they were doing well.
Yeah.
They were doing very well. But they're going to go somewhere.
Right.
Are they going to start taking 957? Are they going to go up and come across Interstate 86? I mean,
Are they going to go take something like Big Four and
Absolutely.
go through Pine Grove and Russell that way? Yeah.
well, we were told several times that there were drugs coming from Chautauqua County, Cattaraugus County, and so you concentrate on Route 62.
Right.
Well, next thing you know, they're running the Russell Scandy Road.
Yeah.
And it's like whack-a-mole.
Right.
Is what. So I think we have a part-time drug task force. They do a fantastic job. We have one Chief County detective that puts a lot of time into it, and maybe he needs some help.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking hiring 3, 4, 5 people full time because let's face it, our tax base isn't going to take that.
Right.
But maybe we can find one. I don't know. I think it's worth looking at. I would support that if we can afford it.
And so along those lines, not just from an enforcement aspect, but obviously these people are selling the drugs to somebody.
Yep.
And so is there an avenue? Is it the county's place to look into creating some kind of program or facility or something to get those people the help that they need so that they can, they're no longer using and can go back out and fill the jobs that we do have?
Yeah, it's a gray area. But then again, it falls like the fire service.
Yeah.
Some people that's not a county commissioner issue. The drug problem, that's not a county. But we all live.
Yeah.
We all represent. I will represent Republicans, Democrats, Independents. I don't care what party you're from. You're a resident of Warren County, and you pay your tax money to the county. And where do we wait for the state? And the state, I mean, I've worked with the Bureau of Narcotics Investigation. I've worked with Troop Vice out of Erie. At one time, I was a deputized FBI agent for federal cases. There's a solution. We just have to look.
Yeah, and and again, it's one of those things that it's not unique to our county by any means, but potentially Warren County could be on the forefront of providing those solutions and serving as an example to other counties throughout the Commonwealth of, hey, we need to start addressing this problem head on instead of behind the scenes and and trying to act like it doesn't exist.
Yeah, let's acknowledge it. Let's take our
Yeah.
head out of the sand. Come up with solutions. I told people that when I was working, and I did drug cases when I was in the Army from 1976 to the day I retired.
Yeah.
In some form, I was on different task forces. I've got a whole drawer full of who's doing what.
Yeah.
I know who's doing what. It's getting the right information, someone to come forward, and it is scary.
Yeah.
For these people, it's scary. I mean, I knew I worked one case for over 12 years.
Yeah.
I knew the people, I got their license, their information, and they were running it from another state.
Yeah.
Long years, and finally we got lucky, and we just need to keep plugging away,
Yeah.
because our society is rotting. If we don't do something, it's decaying. So,
Well, and the big bust they had in Russell a couple of months ago, they came out that was a year-long investigation into that. And I saw or heard from people, well, they knew it was going on for a year. Why did it take so long? And this, well, okay, there's a process
yes,
from the law
Yeah.
enforcement aspect that you have to go through. You can't just, it can't be a NCIS situation where 10 minutes into the program you can go bust down the door, right?
you bring a very good point. That is kind of what has hurt law enforcement. You watch NCIS, you watch Criminal Minds.
Yeah.
People want, and we lost the case. It's a cocaine case because the jury had been watching TV, and they felt, and the way it worked, we searched the informant. The informant was given Commonwealth funds.
Yeah.
That serial numbers we took, photocopied it. They went into the house. We're in there. They came out with cocaine. The jury found the person not guilty because they had watched TV and we didn't have what they call body wire,
Oh, right. Yeah.
or we didn't have different things.
Yeah.
And too much TV.
Yeah.
Good entertainment, but a lot of times not realistic.
But you look at it and you say, okay, so for a year in this example, this person was allegedly selling drugs out of their home or whatever. But on the flip side, and I think this comes back to, as a community as a whole, like you said, taking our heads out of the sand and acknowledging that this problem is here, is if you start finding ways and avenues for people to stop wanting to use, and you eliminate the customer base, right? Eventually, some of those things are going to slow down because if there's nobody to sell to, what are you bringing it here?
That's true. And let's face it. Number one, the amount of methamphetamines that they got in that ring is not a mom and pop operation. They're not in the kitchen growing or cooking meth. That is cartel meth. That's coming through the cartel. And we had gotten a lot of information. And to back up, when we got Canine Dina, a couple of the troopers and Deputy Kibbe with his dog were running around sex.
Yeah.
We know it was coming from Erie, coming from Warren, coming from Ridgeway, coming from Smethport, and other points, and they were knocking a quarter pound a week.
Yeah.
And that dog was amazing. And the interesting thing about Canine Dina, this is from one of the troopers, was after the dog hit on the drug, the dog crawled under the car and was laying under it, telling the officers, this is where it's at.
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I am concerned that you're getting 21, 22 pounds out of one place.
Right.
And it's cartel meth. And that's the cartel part is what scares me.
Yeah.
There's a market for it.
Right.
And I did investigations. I did what was called the GMC crew, Get Money crew, and they were out of Buffalo. They were several years ago. They were bringing crack cocaine.
Yeah.
What they were paying, or what they would sell a rock for in Buffalo, you sell a rock for 10. Here you get 20 and 30.
Right.
And it was constant. It was
Yeah.
over a period. You would take a crew out. 2 weeks later, a couple more, and it was just a vicious circle. And what we did was, the Attorney General's office did what's called a no-step, organized crime, and there's monies that they will give, and it's dedicated for that specific drug and area. And we wound up indicting 14 people, and it slowed it down. So then we went from crack, heroin, bath salts, now meth.
Right.
It's
Well, now you're looking at fentanyl too,
Yes.
and which
Yes.
is just,
and you don't know
you
when these kids out there, and I call them kids.
right.
I'm 66 years old, so
Everybody's a kid. Right?
everybody's a kid. But they're out there; they don't know what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah.
I remember chasing one of the big things back in the day was marijuana laced with embalming fluid. That was a big deal back in the day. You're going to be a good investigator. You've got to stay on top of things.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's a good place to take a break. We're going to take a look at a series that we've got coming up this summer on Your Daily Local. And when we come back, I'm going to quiz Ken on some of his favorite things about Warren County. We'll be back as White Cane Coffee presents Coffee and a Conversation right after this. Come take a little tour with us around the place we call home with the Touring Warren County series this summer on Your Daily Local, sponsored by the Warren County Visitors Bureau. Warren County has so much to offer, from its natural beauty in the Allegheny National Forest at places like the Kinzoo Dam, Bent Run Waterfall, Rim Rock, and the trails at Jake's Rocks, just to name a few. There's also a wealth of history to be found throughout the county, much of it preserved in places like the Warren County Historical Society and the architecture and monuments throughout the county. We'll also give you a glimpse into all the great events and happenings going on all summer long, from car cruise-ins to the Warren County Fair to the annual 4th of July celebration and everything in between. Head to yourdailylocal.com and check out the Touring Warren County series to find all the hidden gems in Warren County. Touring Warren County is sponsored by the Warren County Visitors Bureau. Stop in to the Visitors Bureau office on Route 6 between the State Police Barracks and the Dog Park, or visit them online at wcvb.net. Welcome back to Coffee and a Conversation presented by White Cane Coffee. We're live here at the White Cane Cafe in the plaza across from Tops. Our guest this week, Ken Klakamp, former Warren County Sheriff, presumptively going to be a Warren County Commissioner come January. And, Ken, we just saw the commercial there for our Touring Warren County series that we do every summer on Your Daily Local. We go throughout the county, find some of those hidden gems maybe that people aren't as familiar with. We go to the big events, the small events, and all the natural resources that we have as well. Just let everybody know what we have here, as we talked about early on in this episode about marketing the county, basically.
Yeah.
And so last week I did an Ask Me Anything, and one of the questions I got was, what's my favorite event to cover throughout the summer? So I'm going to pose that to you. What's your favorite event that we have here in Warren County throughout the summer?
Probably the county fair.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is you get out, you get to see old friends, you get to see people that you know, make new friends. And for me, when I was working, the sheriff's office was at the fairground. We had a presence. And just to wander and talk to people. And if they have concerns, that was great. But talk to people. I love engaging with the people. I want to know what are your concerns. And I point with being a county commissioner, my door is open. I had an open door policy when I was a sheriff, and let's face it, we're not always going to agree. We will agree to disagree, but I think that as an elected official, county official, I have an obligation to hear the people.
Yeah.
They may have the key to a solution,
Right.
and they need to be listened to. And come January, my door is open. We'll talk. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about. If you need help, that's what I'm there for. Because I represent all the people in the county. But I would say this: the county.
Yeah.
It's unique. It's one of the finest in the Commonwealth.
Yeah. And it really is it essentially becomes a week-long celebration of the county. From all the different aspects, especially the agriculture there at the fair. But really, if you go, everybody's there, pretty much. I mean, at some point or another, either they've got a booth or they're coming in and just walking the fairgrounds. But yeah, everybody's there.
And I have to laugh because when we started a president several years ago, and my belief was this is a county function, we need to be here. And it was we always joke, well, we have all these warrants. Everybody comes to the county fair. So,
Yeah.
but it's family fun. It's there's no alcohol permitted on the grounds, and we developed a program, lost child program, and sometimes I heard complaints that it went way overboard, but these are kids.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and it's so easy. I mean, just for a kid to kind of wander and unintentionally wander into a place where they could get hurt.
Yeah.
With all the animals and things that are there.
Yes.
And not saying that they're dangerous generally, but a kid in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Oh yeah.
Could definitely be trouble. And
you get an opportunity when you go to see just how hard these people work.
Yeah.
And it's not just the farmers, the adults, it's the kids with the 4-H and their different projects. You really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the underrated aspects of the fair is seeing all the kids and all they work basically from the end of last year's fair to the beginning of this year's fair to get their animal or their crops or whatever it is that they're presenting. They've spent that whole entire year working to make that the best that it could possibly be.
And people in Warren County, the farmers, the kids that are in the 4-H or photography.
Yeah.
The people do amazing things. Mm-hmm. And, it's worth giving them your attention for a day.
And to go along with that, I guess the other thing that was posed to me last week is, what do you think is one of the most underutilized areas or events within the county that maybe people don't know about or we aren't taking full advantage of?
Wow, that's a tough question.
That's exactly what I said.
there are, you have the fishing tournament.
Yeah.
Firemen's, some have firemen's carnivals. There's not many left of them. When I was in Garland, because I grew up in Garland, we had the gala days, what we called the gala days. We had rides come in. And that, the fire department operated off those funds. And other than that, or some places had bingo. We didn't have a facility big enough to do that. But get out and see Warren County. There is a lot of history.
Yeah.
When I was taking classes at JCC, I took a class. It was out the Allegheny Valley history. And I did not know that there was a small battle on one of the islands in the Allegheny River. It didn't amount to much.
Right.
But
There's
little
only so
thing.
much you can do on an island, right?
Chase each other.
Yeah.
But there's a rich history.
Yeah.
You know, General Cobbin. You know, that's a fascinating story, and I love history. My grandmother was raised in the Kinzig Valley. She lived just north of where the KPIC is now,
Okay.
up the valley, and that
Yeah.
was some of the most fertile farming land in the county. And her name was, last name was Stoddard. And I started looking at the
Yeah.
history, and one of the relatives was the pathmaster. That was his. There were 4 of them in the township, and he was one of them. His job was to maintain the path. So, I mean, it's
Yeah.
just interesting.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that we see the little blue and gold signs up, right, all over the
Yes.
place that kind of explain some of the, the monuments or the historical markers and stuff. And I wonder, and I'm guilty of this myself, but how many people actually stop and take the time to read those and really understand and how much, it sends you down the rabbit hole sometimes. Well, now I want to go home and, thanks to the beauty of the internet, one of the good things come to the internet is you can go down those rabbit holes and start looking up that information and find out, and I agree completely. There's so much rich history here that, I think if you quiz people on it, we would find that we don't appreciate enough.
I think there's I'm trying to think. I believe down in Kitute, along the river, is the longest. I'm trying to think how that goes. We always give Titusville. That's where the historic for the oil.
Right.
Is,
yes.
right?
The longest running. It's still running. Yes.
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 Yeah. And how many hundreds of years?
We're looking at what, close to 140 probably now. I think. I know. And I'll tell you what. I had the opportunity to go on what the Visitors Bureau calls a FAM tour a little over a week ago. Got to meet some fine folks from the Lumber Heritage region and the I-90 West Welcome Center out there in Northeast, and that was one of the things that we were discussing, because they were noticing all of the drills that were still in operation as we were driving throughout the county. And Casey Ferry, the executive director out there, had mentioned the one down in Tidioute as being, I think it was the second one behind Drakewell and Titusville. It was the second one, and it's still in operation. Yeah.
But it's interesting too. Warren County was built on oil and timber. One of the big timber people, my understanding, was a gentleman by the name of Mickle, down around Garland. Well, now you have Mickle Hill.
Right.
Well, that was the area, and it's just interesting. And we've had a lot of famous people.
Oh yeah.
Come from this area, in all, and
Yeah.
academics, and government, sports. I'm proud to say that. Interesting story. Mike Shine. Was 2 years ahead of me at school.
Okay.
I was in the Army when he won the silver medal in Montreal. We had just gotten off of a patrol ship. And we were setting in this bay area. Somebody had a TV on. And I never did militias.
Yeah.
I really did. And I knew who he was in high school.
Right.
But he won that silver medal. Of course, fucking chest out.
Oh yeah.
He went to the school I went to.
Yeah.
But a year or so later, he took his basic training course. And I was a road MP. So we got a call one night, and it was in his building. And on a military base, everything is my building number.
Right. Yeah.
So I was a patrol supervisor, and that's not called that you would normally. But I reckon because the Post newspaper had this big article about my
Right.
show.
Well, yeah.
So I go there, and I'm like, patrol sergeant there. I said, this kid went to the same school. Can I see him? I said, I know he's. Yeah, and it was kind of funny because you're like, here is a silver medalist.
Yeah.
And you're a sergeant in the Army, and he's a private. And it was just kind of like,
yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, and how many people understand the baseball history that we had here? Especially in that time when professional baseball was still kind of finding itself, and the professional and semi-pro teams that we had come here, and like semi-pro football and things like that. And that's just from a sports perspective. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they mentioned the movie Dangerous Minds.
Oh
that
yeah,
was and I said, oh yeah, well that was a teacher from Youngsville wrote that story, and they kind of looked, they looked at me like I had three heads, and I'm like, that was a huge. I mean, and I was 14, I think, at the time when the movie came out, and I just remember it being such a huge deal that somebody from Youngsville was essentially having a large part of their life story put on film.
And I don't know where the school was. Los Angeles.
I don't recall offhand. I can't remember if it was L.A. or New York.
But I remember her in school. She was a couple of years ahead of me, and then I didn't know that she had went into the military and gotten her education, and she came out, and that was fascinating. And I'm friends with her brother-in-law and her sister. Yeah, absolutely amazing. And there have been some great athletes that have come out of the area. Just to the north, Shane Collin came out.
And my wife's from Frewsburg, and so as we both got our Penn State shirts on.
Yeah.
Not intentional, by the way.
I remember one day Danny Porcher was a state trooper. God bless his soul. What a man. And we were in Arby's, and we were working at a series of burglaries, and we happened to be riding together. And we stopped at Arby's, and Shane's dad, Dan, was there. And, of course, we knew Dan because he was an investigator with the New York State Police. And I said, well, how's Shane going? He said, it's absolutely amazing. He said he going from a small town to a big university, he couldn't believe the facilities.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Because when you get an athletic scholarship, you eat, breathe, and live that discipline. And we had the gentleman from Youngsville again. Played at one time for the Buffalo Bills. And if you look at Warren County, you look at Stockton County, the number of, and even Erie County, the number of athletes that have come out. It's amazing.
All right. Well, we've been here for about an hour, and I don't want to keep it. It's going to be another gorgeous day and lots of stuff going on throughout the county. I know there's a big cruise in up at Schultz and spring fling down there at the Don Mills Achievement Center. So I'll probably swing by and check out some of those things in the midst of my kids got to go to a birthday party this afternoon too. So
you got dad duty.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's just it. Got to mix being dad and reporter and business owner and all that. But Ken, I want to thank you so much for taking some time to sit down with me this morning, and I'm sure we will be talking much more, especially as you get into that office and have that open door policy. I might take quite a bit of advantage of that one.
I'm always here. I'm always available. And remember, people, not politics.
So that will wrap it up for this week as White Cane Coffee presents Coffee in a Conversation. Again, I want to say thank you to Ken Klakamp for stopping by. And don't forget, White Cane Coffee Cafe is open now in the plaza across from Tops through all the construction. Stop in, get yourself a fresh cup, maybe an iced mocha or frozen lemonade as the temperature warms up. Also available on DoorDash and online at whitecanecoffee.com. We will be back here next week. I'll be talking to Andy Papalea from the Warren County YMCA. Got some great things coming up with the youth sports programs down at the Y, so you won't want to miss that conversation. But for Ken Klakamp, this is Brian Hagberg saying thank you so much for watching, everyone, and have a great weekend. Thank you.
You know what would make that better? A cup of White Cane coffee.
Wow, that really is great coffee.
White Cane coffee, because every cup makes a difference.
It's not just about music lessons. It's about hard work, perseverance, dedication, self-expression, making memories. Let's make memories together.